welcome back to another edition of Behind the Lens. It is the month of June. It is June 5th already. We are approaching the halfway mark of the year. For those of you that don't know, I'm Debbie Elias, film critic, creator, and host of Behind the Lens. You can find my movie reviews and interviews in print and online around the world 24/7 on my site, behindthelensonline.net. But every Monday, you can find me right here on adrenalineradio.com at 11 o'clock Pacific, 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern time. So welcome. And I'm very thrilled today. I have Pam as my sound engineer. Yay! Because Brian didn't show up again. We're just letting everyone know that. So Pam is here today, and we have a jam-packed show for you. Some amazing and incredible guests. As soon as I find what I just did with my notes. We're going to start off the show in a few minutes with acclaimed director Greg Barker. You may know his work from Frontline, from the documentary Manhunt. What else has he done? He has also done the Homegrown counter-terror dilemma. Greg knows the military, he knows the Middle East, he knows the warfare. And now he brings us this incredible documentary, Legion of Brothers, which takes us back to 9/11 and a secret mission that was put into play immediately after the attacks. We deployed a secret force of Special Ops Green Berets into Afghanistan. The mission being destroy the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. He goes back and visits with the men of these two units of Berets, and he gets firsthand recollections of what transpired, what happened, what has bonded them together after all these years still. There's a lot of heartache. There's a lot of truth. There's a lot of information that the American public may not know or may not remember. It is, as we just come out of Armed Forces Month and Memorial Day weekend last weekend, upcoming 4th of July, it is, and with terror attacks happening around the world, it couldn't be more timely, more important to really pay attention to these documentaries, such as Danger Close, which we've had with my friend Alex Quaid, an embed reporter, and David Salzberg and Christian Tarot and their Heroes of Action, Heroes of Valor series, trilogy. Now we have Legion of Brothers, and there are a couple more similarly themed films and docs like this that are coming up, one of which opens on Friday in theaters. You heard a little bit about it last week. Megan Levy, the true story of Marine Corporal Megan Levy and her incredible canine, Rex, and the journey that she went through after both of them proving to be exemplary soldiers, both being injured in combat, both receiving Purple Hearts, and then Megan's battle to then adopt Rex. It has become, hers was one of the seminal cases in the United States that helped to change the law so that soldiers could start adopting their dogs. It's always been a dicey proposition for the longest time, but this was probably, thanks to the involvement of Chuck Schumer, Megan Levy's story, and that of Rex, it became one of the most notable. I can't recommend the film highly enough when it opens on Friday. It is directed by Gabriella Copperthwaite. Of course, you know her award-winning work with Blackfish. And you have seen and you have witnessed firsthand what that one film has done to the industry, to such as SeaWorld. Whales will no longer be in captivity. They will not be bred, such as Tilikum was. Gabriella has a great eye and a great sense of responsibility, social consciousness, I think she is the perfect person to direct Megan Levy. It stars Kate Mara. Last week you heard a little bit of my exclusive interview with Gabriella talking about the making of Megan Levy. There's a lot more to the interview, which will be up on this week before the film opens on Friday. You'll be able to find it and listen to excerpts of it, as well as read about the interview at behindthelensonline.net. That's where you can find us when we are not on the radio or on the internet with Behind the Lens, the radio show. But again, I cannot recommend Megan Levy highly enough when it opens this Friday, and it will be nationwide. For more information for those of you that are fascinated by the idea of war dogs, and once you see the film and the story of Rex and Megan, there is a website. I believe it's thewardogs.org, and it'll give you the whole history of war dogs, starting with Robbie's Law in 2000, which became codified in the U.S. Code, that then set up a program so that soldiers could start adopting their canine companions from the battlefield. And interestingly, all war dog adoptions are handled out of Laughlin, Texas, the 341st Training Squadron, I believe. So put that on your calendar for this coming Friday. It is a fabulous, fabulous film. And bring tissues. When you see it, people, bring tissues. Because it's a tearjerker. But, and it also bodes an outstanding performance from Bradley Whitford, and also Tom Felton. Draco Malfoy himself has one of my favorite characters in this film, one of my favorite performances in the film, and he actually brings a very touching and very heartwarming addition to the story of the canine unit, the battlefield canine war dogs. So, again, this Friday, it'll be everywhere. See it, see it, see it. And check out the rest of my interview with Gabrielle Copperthwaite on Behind the Lens Online this week. But another film is opening this week also, and that is My Cousin Rachel. That's going to be in limited release. But those, and then it'll go wider. That's Fox Searchlight film. It is a beautiful, beautiful film. It is an adaptation of Daphne du Maurier's 1951 novel. It was her 8th novel. It is very much in the vein of Rebecca, very Hitchcockian in that sense. And Roger Michell opted to do his own adaptation and direct. Roger's work you know from Notting Hill, Hyde Park on Hudson, Venus, Morning Glory, Changing Lanes. But what he has done here is he went to the book. Classic film fans know that in 1952, My Cousin Rachel was made into a film that starred Richard Burton and Olivia de Havilland. And ironically, it was produced by Fox. Thus, for licensing purposes and chain of custody, it makes sense. That is why Fox is releasing My Cousin Rachel. It stars Rachel Weisz in the title role of Rachel, Sam Claflin as Philip. Holliday Granger turns in an amazing performance of ambiguity as Louise. It is top-notch from beginning to end. Cinematographer is Mike Ely. Production designer Alice Normington, and costumes by Dinah Collins. All outstanding. And I have to say, and it pains me to do it, but I much prefer this adaptation of the book over the classic film, which I know will surprise a lot of people. So right now, we are waiting for Greg Barker to call in. He should be calling. Pam, do we want to take a quick break and see if he calls? Do we want to do that? Rather than go into some clips with Roger? Oh, the phone is ringing. We know. This is the beauty of live, as you all know by now. This is the beauty of live, and Pam and I are working out our rhythm. So, oh, and here she is. She's putzing and playing with the phone. I see her. So, and we have him. Okay. Hello, Greg.
Hey, hi. How are
How
you, Debbie?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm pretty good.
I am thrilled to have you. It's great to be talking to you again, number one, but I am thrilled to have you on the show to talk about Legion of Brothers. And I've already been warned you have a hard out at 11:25. So
Yeah,
so we
I
will
do, I'm afraid.
we will get you off the air by then. But
Okay.
for the listeners, I gave them a little background at the top of the show as to what Legion of Brothers is. Why don't you explain, what it is, how you approach this, and what this film stemmed out of, going back to September 11th.
Sure, yeah. Well, it's great to be on your show, Debbie. This is the story of the very beginning of what's now the longest war in American history. And if you think back to September 11th, 2001, almost universally, everyone wanted the American military to do something. And this is the story of that first something, the attack and the invasion of Afghanistan by a small group of American Green Beret soldiers. I should say it wasn't actually an invasion; it was like an infiltration to overthrow the Taliban government, which was in power, running the country, and had supported Osama bin Laden and given him, in fact, safe haven. And mission was accomplished very quickly, which is why it's kind of hard to remember it now. It was over within several weeks by a small group of men, 100 special forces units from the Army Green Berets, working in conjunction with the CIA and the U.S. Air Force, who overthrew the government and installed a new government led by Hamid Karzai and chased Al-Qaeda out of its safe havens in Afghanistan. So it's really, it's a story that had been in my mind really since 2002 when I met some of these pretty extraordinary special operators on another project, and I just always wanted to tell this story, and it in fact seemed to get more important for me as time went on, because now these same people and these same teams are still at the forefront of America's military response across the entire Middle East and, in fact, around the world. I mean, presidents, both Trump and Obama, Bush before, sort of have found that the special operations teams can be very effective and that they have a very light footprint, but also they often don't fully appreciate, I think, how those forces are best deployed. And so this is an amazing sort of kind of war story full of drama and heroics, but also, I think, as all good war stories have to be, a sort of a cautionary tale about the nature of war as told by the soldiers who fought it.
Mm-hmm. And lately we've been covering quite a few military-themed documentaries on the show. Most recently, Danger Close, and Alex Quaid, embed reporter, was on the show with us, as were David Salzberg and Christian Terode, the producers and directors of Danger Close. So everybody's been getting a flavor, especially from Alex, who was the first reporter to ever embed with Special Ops, as to exactly how special these men really are, and with what they do. And what I love about Legion of Brothers is now we really get to see a follow-up with these men and what time has done in terms of their reflections, with their memories, and an insight into, quote unquote, the art of war that the average American does not get, but for something like Legion of Brothers. I'm
Yeah,
curious.
I think that's right. I think I've never really heard such elite soldiers talking in such an open and kind of reflective way about their experiences and the effect those experiences have had on them and their families. It's kind of, and I think just the time was sort of right to kind of go there. I think I think there were some of these guys were a little tired of just seeing the gung ho sort of SEAL Team 6 stories, and not to take anything away from the SEALs, but these, just focusing on how, amazing that this special operations capability is only like a small sliver of the picture, and it doesn't at all get to the real sort of nature of special operations, which is actually not just shoot 'em up, bang bang. It's a lot. Actually, a lot of it is intellectual, working with different cultures, understanding the environment that you're working in. Most of these guys are not your sort of typical sort of hard-nosed sort of muscle-bound guys. I mean, they're strong, but they're also super smart, speak several languages, and that's really what special operations is. It's being able to operate behind enemy lines and find creative solutions, often without sort of much guidance from higher authorities. It's not that they can't do the kind of direct action SEAL thing, and they do that. All these special operators can do that, but it's really much more nuanced and in fact more interesting. And so I think they wanted to get that story out, and they also just wanted to get the kind of the human dimension of it out. This is generally these wars are fought now by a small group of men and women, and there's just a limited number of special operators, and they're being called to do a lot of very challenging tasks, not just in the Middle East but around the world, and that is something that they signed up for. But also because this war now has gone on for 15 years, it does take a toll in terms of just the repeated deployments, and I think that's one thing they just wanted to get out there, and it just hasn't really been fully appreciated yet. So, I set out to make a film that both works as a war movie, and also is something that's reflective and tells us what it's actually like, as told by the people who actually live it.
Yeah, I'm curious, how logistically challenging was this for you from a filmmaking standpoint? Because as we look back in time, when all of this was unfolding and they were actually on the mission, we weren't at the point we are now in terms of social media, the immediacy of reporting things, factual or rumored, in terms of what actual archival materials were actually created in that time because of the lack of social media as we now know it. Did that present a problem for you in assembling a visually appealing and educational aspect of the documentary?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to overstate it because every documentary has its own sort of unique challenges. I mean, telling a story about any kind of military operation, particularly one that is inherently secret, is full of challenges. So, but it's true that even back then it was not routine for special operations soldiers to carry cameras or video cameras although there were drones that existed, but they were not sort of, as prevalent and sort of flying all over, the operations all the time. And so as a result, there was a lot fewer, photographs and very little footage of what these guys did. And so, just from a filmic standpoint, and I knew this going in, it was going to be a challenge to figure out how to do that. And luckily there was enough, and we did some cool stuff with graphics, I would call it. It's not really animation, so that has the wrong connotation, but it's kind of like just kind of giving a sense of where they are, what it looked like, and how the narrative played out. We were able to find enough footage and enough photographs to kind of make it work. And but at the core of it is really these guys' stories. I mean, that's really what it was about, and this was really just their emotional journey, and which is both exciting, absolutely riveting, and also really reflective and at times very painful and tragic. But that is the nature of war.
And it's something else, and I have to tell you, I love the graphics. I really love what you did with
Great,
the
thank you.
graphics. They are very, very effective and very informative. But something that you do, in addition to speaking with the men who live this, you also bring in their families. And we get to hear from them individually and collectively as a group and see the interaction. Did it surprise you that you were welcomed into the family group situation for this brotherhood? And also, how important was it to you in order to bring the families into the documentary?
Well, it was important because myself and my sort of fellow producer Tresha Nabil, who was really sort of intimately involved throughout, um, you know, in all of our conversations with these guys, they would always talk about the impact on their families, you know, and so we just wanted to capture that. And it's, as you would expect, these guys have been deployed multiple times, often at length, and so there's a whole range of experiences with regard to their families. There's guys who are on multiple marriages and marriages that have stood the test of time but been challenged, and all that kind of stuff. It's the full gamut of human experiences as you would expect. I really wanted to get into that some, and that took some, I wouldn't say convincing, but just getting to know people, and eventually, that people wanted to be a part of that. And we had one of the main characters, a guy named Mark Nooch, who was the captain, the leader of this team that became famous as the Horse Soldiers in northern Afghanistan. I'd known Mark since 2002 when I first met him, and but he was always talking about, his wife had a child while he was deployed, and that was always and it was a complicated delivery, and he didn't find out about it for days, and he'd always talk to me about that, and I wanted to tell that story and convince, and then I met his wife, and she wanted to be a part of it. She's amazing, inspirational teaches special education in their home, and in a school district near their home, and she then came to Sundance, and at the premiere had a standing ovation with the rest of the guys, and then really was eloquent about the impact on the families, and having at first been, I think, to say, kind of reluctant to talk and unsure what that would entail, now is incredibly commanding at the Q&As we often do after screenings, and has sort of grown into that role. And the spouses tend to be incredibly close knit on some of these teams, and even now, as we see in the film, 15 years later, they're still they're just like family, and so the guys can be like family, a legion of brotherhoods, but also like a legion of sisters too, is the wives, and I think that's true. Now that there are women in this force as well, I mean, it's true across the board. People become very, very tight with each other's families, and because this is and I came from a military family myself, and there was always that bond with other military families, and when my dad deployed, my mom and her friends would get together. I think it's just even accentuated within the special operations world because of the intensity of what they do and the secrecy, as they just generally don't know. The family doesn't know what their loved one is up to because they can't.
Well, unfortunately, it is 11:25, and I have to make sure that you have to run.
I got to hop in a car and get across town. So yes,
but I just want to thank you, Greg. But I also want to let everybody know that you can watch Legion of Brothers. It'll be on demand, DVD and Blu-ray on June 26th, and it is still playing in selective theaters around the country.
Yeah, so check it out. It's playing in some of the Special Forces towns. It starts on Friday in Clarksville, which is home of the 5th Group Special Forces. I think in Fayetteville, North Carolina, near Fort Bragg, San Diego, several other places as well. So check out the website, legionofbrothers.com or .org, or you'll find it. And there's a Facebook page as well, and then it'll be on iTunes later this month too. And then broadcast on CNN in sort of mid-September, and then on Hulu later in the year. So multiple ways of checking it out.
Well, when you get ready for it to go on CNN, I hope you'll come back on the show and we can plug it some more.
That'd be great.
Greg,
Yeah,
thank you
we will.
so
All right.
much.
Thank you, Debbie.
Now run get your car.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Okay. Take care. All right. Bye-bye. Bye.
And that was Greg Barker, director of Legion of Brothers. I can't recommend it highly enough. It really is. It's very insightful. It's very informative. And you can find it in theaters now for all the military out there. And I know we do have military that listen to the show. Please check out the theaters in your areas, as Greg said. It's going to be opening in Clarksville, Fort Bragg. I think it's playing. I think it's either playing now or it's coming to Fort Benning in Columbus, Georgia. So I hope my aunt goes and sees it. My grandfather ran the brig there for decades, so I have great affinity for the Army and the military. But right now, I think Pam and I are going to take a break as lights are flickering, so we're obviously haunted in here today. And then we will be back in just a few minutes. This is Behind the Lens. And welcome back to Behind the Lens. I'm Debbie Elias. It is, again, the first month of June. For those of you just tuning in, you just missed the wonderful Greg Barker talking about his new documentary, Legion of Brothers, about the Special Ops Green Beret who went on special missions immediately after 9/11 with the mission to bring down the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. It's a fascinating film. It is in theaters in limited release, and come June 26th, it will also be available DVD, Blu-ray, VOD, and as Greg was saying, later in the year in September, airing on CNN and then on Hulu after that. Greg will be back on the show later this summer to talk more about the film. Coming up momentarily, when they call in, we're going to switch gears and go from the sobriety of war to something a little lighter. How about the Dances with Films Film Festival, which is currently going on in Hollywood at the Mann's Chinese Complex. This is the 20th year for Dances with Films, and hopefully joining us will be the founders of the festival, LESLEE SCALLON and Michael Trent. They have a fascinating story of how the festival started. I have covered films throughout the past 20 years on the festival. I have covered the festival in its early years. I'm actually back covering it this year. Did the quote-unquote green carpet the other night. Jam-packed, and I have to give a huge shout-out to the publicist hired for Dances with Films. Did an amazing job. Sylvia Desrochers. And Sylvia, as you know, Sylvia's been a guest on the show, giving great advice and guidance not only to publicists but to filmmakers. And, oh, what is this? Pam is trying to type to me. Who do we have Leslie and Michael? They're on the same phone? Just Leslie. Okay, we'll take Leslie. Hello, Leslie Scallon. Are you?
You have both of us.
Michael's there too. Oh my God.
Yes.
Well, welcome to Behind the Lens, guys.
Hey, well, thank you.
I am
so much for having us.
I am thrilled to have you. 20 years. This is scary.
Right?
20. I can't believe it. You know, I was talking to some filmmakers the other day, and I said, guys, I remember back in the very early days at the theater on Fairfax, and, you know, headquarters was at the Farmer's Daughter across from the Grove. And, you know,
that was 2006, I think.
Yeah. And to see where the festival has come. Wow. What is the secret? What is the secret, guys?
The secret is our filmmakers. Every year, you know, the filmmakers' creativity, their energy, it just really makes the whole event worth putting on. And every year, more people pitch in, and the word gets spread more and more about what kind of quality that we have. And it's just become a phenomenal, you know, kind of cultural experience for us.
Well, I think I blew your mind on social media when I posted on there that the films that I was screening for Dances with Films were actually a better quality than ones I started looking at for LA Film Festival.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, and we're so proud of our entire slate is just amazing, and the thing that I think is really terrific is that for some reason, along with these really terrific films, we have terrific filmmakers, and everybody realizes it's about, meeting each other, supporting each other, because as Michael likes to always say, success is not finite. There's room for more than one person at the top in the filmmaking industry.
Yeah, and that's one of the beautiful things about Dances with Films, and consistently over the years, the filmmakers interact with each other. They stay in touch. Almost every film that I have covered and reviewed or done interviews on over the years, to this day, I am still in touch with those filmmakers. And,
wow.
And to see some of them, it's like a perfect example. And I was in an interview yesterday. I was telling a group of filmmakers, I said, you want to know what Dances with Films is about? You go back and you look at a little film called Wannabe, written and directed by Richard Keith. Then you take a look at who is in that film. One of them went on to direct an Academy Award-winning film. That man was Tate Taylor. Another woman in that film went on to get an Oscar, Octavia Spencer. This is what comes from Dances with Films. And
what an appropriate title that they came out of.
Yeah. The Help. Yes, Wannabes. And it's actually funny, Michael. I was interviewing Octavia a couple months ago for The Shack, and I brought up Wannabe. And I said, well, it's solidified now. You're a wannabe no more. And she got a good laugh out of that. She laughed about that.
Yeah.
You guys, unlike so many festivals, this is not political about who gets in, who gets out. It's not who you know. It is about the quality of the films. How difficult is it to pick your slate every year when you have when you're looking at the quality and not, this person's attached to it and that person's attached to it? Or is that easier?
Well, it makes it a lot easier. I mean, if there are none of those things in play, I mean, you're simply looking at the films, and every single year it gets actually easier in a way because the quality of the submissions, just continues to grow. I mean, we always have a terrific slate every single year, but this year is, and I know a lot of film festivals say, this is the best year ever in terms of the quality of the films, but it's absolutely true. And the only way that you'll know it is if you actually come down to the festival and check out the films, because we just have a truly remarkable slate that we're thrilled about that are going to be the next wannabes, I guess, in the future.
Well,
I mean, the other thing is, Debbie, that when we're actually selecting them, because we are not a niche festival, we're not a horror or the Asian or black or anything like that. We really have a wide range of different films, And when you're talking about the difficulty in selecting something, sometimes we lose some really good films because we've already got our couple of psychological thrillers, and I think that's when it gets really hard, when we all have these certain films. And it's not just Michael and I. We have a screening crew of, what was it this year, Michael, maybe like 40 or something like that, and each person will have their favorite and we'll fight for them. And it's kind of, programming the festival is like trying to put together a jigsaw puzzle that you don't know exactly what it's supposed to look like.
A blind jigsaw puzzle.
Exactly. I mean, and one of the things that you touched upon was, just in terms of how the festival has grown. And, because early in the early days, people would say, well, there's no such thing as community in Los Angeles. But one of the things that Leslie and I have tried to create, and we've been fortunate enough, I think, just simply because of all the people that we have had around us all these years, is that I think that we have created a community. And that is kind of at the heart of the festival every single year.
Yeah, and in speaking with filmmakers, that's one of the things that made, for some of them, have said, no, this was the number one festival. This was the festival I wanted to get into. I wasn't even submitting anywhere else because I wanted to get into this one so desperately. And it's for that very reason. And I thought that...
Well, I mean, it's a terrific honor to have people wanting to choose us first. You know, we've fought a long, hard battle to get to this place.
Well, you have, yes,
and we still do.
You're not sitting on dirty carpets in a theater anymore.
Well, they might be slightly cleaner, but yeah.
Well, that's the other thing is holding it at the Chinese theater in Hollywood is so tremendous. I mean, first of all, we love LESLEE's. I mean, we are their fans for forever because we were there for 15 years.
Absolutely.
But the Chinese is nice because it has this big lobby where we can really spread out and have room for people to really talk. And we have terrific panels. In fact, today at 1:00 we have our Powerhouse panel, which is got people, like Mark Ordesky, who is one of the producers of Lord of the Rings, is going to be sitting on that panel. And so to be able to bring the wealth of experience that is in this town to these 5 panels that we have at 1:00 in the theater every day is just it's so great for the filmmakers and for anybody else who's interested in making a film to be able to talk to people who are doing it and doing it well.
And you've also expanded the festival as the years have gone by, most recently with your Dancing with Kids that you have going on.
Yeah. I mean, and that's super cool. This is actually the 4th year of Dance with Kids.
Mm-hmm.
And it is, not only is it, a festival that celebrates films for kids, but almost more importantly, it celebrates films that are made by kids. I mean, because there's nothing cooler than having a 6 or 7-year-old doing a Q&A right after their screening at the Chinese theater. I mean, that's worth the price of admission right there.
The excitement they have and the joy on their face, nothing beats that. Nothing.
Yeah, and also, funny enough, we actually have a filmmaker, one of our kid filmmakers in Dances with Kids. Mm-hmm. His father was actually in our very first year of Dances with Films.
Oh my God!
Yeah. I mean, in 1998. Now, it's cycled back around, and now he has his kid, like she just said. But also, we started Dances with Pilots last year. Mm-hmm. And so we're coming into the 2nd year of that, and that's another division of the festival, and that is geared toward webisodes and TV pilots.
And I have to tell you, I am so in love with the Dances with Pilots category. I've already seen 4 or 5 this year that people threw out to me because they wanted me to take a look at them. These are amazing. Cool. I mean, there's one of them. I want to see that on television right now. Right now. Becca on Call. I'm going to say it. I want to see Becca on Call on television right now.
Well, that's what we're trying to get all those television execs and development people down there. That's part of why. That's one of the reasons why we have this festival in Los Angeles, is so that we can get the industry in to be able to see these gems that they wouldn't necessarily see if they went to a festival where it's the whole star-studded thing. These films kind of get buried under in that kind of an environment. And here, everybody's on a level playing field.
Yeah. And that's so important. That is so very important. I know, because you also get a lot of first-time filmmakers, first-time producers. Some of them now, it's like, how do I distribute my film? What do I do? How do I sell it? And I know that as part of your panels, you not only include that as a subject, but then do you still send out to distributors and whatnot, inviting them to come and see these films? I know you religiously did that for the longest time.
Oh, absolutely. That's one of the real reasons that we even created it. Michael and I had a film in 1997, and we needed to have a screening for it. And Michael came up with this great idea of the fact that if we have a really great small film with no names in it, I bet you there's a lot of other people do. And, we brought together, we took a small ad out in one of the industry magazines and got like 300 entries the first day because they loved our credo of no politics, no star, no shit, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have to bloop that, but yeah.
Well, that's okay. We're going out live, so tough it. And I won't bloop it on when I throw the audio on my website and on iTunes. It won't get bleeped. So because that's saying it in a good way though, Michael. Using it in that context is a good way when you're describing this festival. Because as Leslie said, there is no politics, there is no crap. It's all about good films, making good films, showcasing good films, and showcasing these incredible filmmakers that are out there.
And something that I wanted to bring up, because I think that there's a lot of barriers that I don't think that we necessarily try to break these barriers, but we do because we don't actually vet certain things in terms of films that we bring in. For instance, at the festival, you will see a lot of women filmmakers. We don't actually go after women filmmakers, but they rise to the top. We have films and projects that are made by first-time people that are middle-aged or even in their 60s, which is pretty awesome.
And we also have people who are members of the Academy. The people who vote for the Oscars. We have met 3 or 4 that are actually members of the Academy that are with us. So it's really it's such a wide variety. We have a girl who was with us. I shouldn't call her a girl; she's a woman. And but her first film with us was last year, and she was 17, and she's back this year at 18. And she's just a phenomenal talent. But we don't look at her and go, "Oh, she's 18, or 17, and so." We'll pick her film. We pick it because it was chosen because it's good.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, that's how we judge films. We judge them based upon one another in terms of all the submissions that come in each and every year. But it's really fascinating to us that we find such a range of peoples, if you will. Everyone from as we've said, like 6 and 7 years old into into later in life, and also, just across every platform. So
now, do either of you have favorites in the festival this year?
We can never say that.
We love all the films.
Yeah.
Well, you should love all the films.
We have quite a contingent of films coming from Australia. We do each and every year, and we, some of those are films that we love. We love all, as Leslie said, we really love all the films that come into the festival, and so we're never going to, play favorites at all. But we're just excited. This year has been,
Sometimes it's really funny because, Debbie, we do the Q&As after every screening. Mm-hmm. That's what I think is really cool about this. Not only do you get to see a great film, but then the filmmakers, come down and talk about the project and everything like that. And it's funny because some of us are like arm wrestling, going, "No, I want to do that Q&A. No, I want to do that Q&A." Oh,
yeah.
Because the people, not just Leslie and I, but all the people, because there's a pretty large staff at this point. And all of them have seen all of these films, and they're all excited to, participate in these Q&As and just interact with the filmmakers in and of themselves. And that's a great thing to see, especially in a Q&A situation where, because you have an excited audience, and you also have an engaged, panel who is continually interested in, just wanting to find out more and more information about how these films originated, where they came from, how they were inspired.
Mm-hmm. Well, guys, it has been a joy to have you on the show. Unfortunately, I'm going to boot you guys off because we have 2 Dances with filmmakers who are going to come on next.
Oh, that's a good reason to be booted.
And
those are our favorites.
And they are holding right now. So, unfortunately, I have to say goodbye to you guys. But I'm so thrilled that you came on the show, Leslie and Michael. I really am. This has been a real treat.
Well, thank you for having us. We appreciate it, and we love the fact that you champion the films that we love to champion. So, kudos and thanks to you as well. And enjoy your interview with our filmmakers. They're all terrific.
Oh, everyone I've met so far I love. So
Excellent. We will talk to you soon and hopefully see you at the festival.
I will see you guys later this week. Bye-bye.
All right. See you then. Bye, Debbie.
Bye.
Bye.
And that was LESLEE, SCALLON, and Michael Trent, founders of Dances with Films. And now, speaking of Dances with Films, I have now with me two of my favorite filmmakers from Dances with Films. I have Kenny Young and Phil James. Hi, guys.
Hey, Debbie, how you doing?
Thank you for having us.
I am so thrilled. Yes, LESLEE and Michael, they understood. They accepted getting kicked off early because I have.
Oh, they were good sports. God bless.
They were good sports. Well, only because you two have the fabulous film Chance in Dances with Films. They didn't know it was you coming on though. They only knew that.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're very excited.
Well, you know how much I love the film. So now for all of my wonderful Behind the Lens listeners, tell them what Chance is about.
Chance is a story of a young pit bull puppy, an idealistic and imaginative pit bull puppy who's torn from his family and raised in the world of dog fighting, of underground dog fighting, where he struggles to hold on to his values and beliefs.
And this is animated.
And it's all animated film, and it's through the point of view of the dog. You never really see.
Yeah, totally from the perspective of the main character, Chance.
You know,
you never really see the individuals or the people talking or anything throughout the film. It's all 100% through the point of view of the dogs and their struggles to hold on to their core values.
You know, and that's something that I found that I think is very important in the film because it deals with not just about the undercurrents of dogfighting and the metaphor to our own history that is inherent in there, but you concentrate and focus on the ideas of friendship, freedom. You make a definite statement about dogfighting, but the anthropomorphism and the anthropomorphic emotion that you give to not only Chance, but his best friends, Hannibal and Sugar and Mutt, is just outstanding. It is riveting.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Debbie.
It escapes you that this is an animated film. The emotion is so real. The animation itself, so realistic in capturing the eyes of the dogs, the differentials as personalities change throughout the course of the film, and just the drawing of the jawline or the softening of the cheek, or just the sad puppy dog eyes. You know, I told you, 10 boxes of Kleenex for this movie.
Thank you. Well, you know, we have to give a lot of credit to our animator and our director, Kenny Roy, because he really took I wish he was here to explain it more, but he did some really creative things to humanize the dogs so we could, relate to them. And like you said, they emote a human emotion, but not so much where they kind of, where they abandon their situation as animals and what they're going through. So Kenny Roy really did an amazing job, and that was our goal, to find someone who we thought could really get it and could really capture the essence of the characters, and we think he did a phenomenal job.
Well, as we talked about yesterday, I think definitely Kenny Roy, and then your art director, you did such a great job to keep this from being what I called Disneyfied.
That's what
and we're going to use that word. That's a good one.
I know you like that word.
That word.
But that's you so easily could have softened everything, because you look at, number one, I don't think Disney would ever touch an animated film that had an underlying theme of dogfighting, even in banning it.
I agree.
But at the same token, even if other animation companies, I think they would have tried to soften the look and the feel of the film. And you didn't do that. You gave it pure, visceral emotion. And by those emotions, you cover the range. You've got love, you've got sadness, you've got sorrow, you've got anger. And so wonderful is the animation that we see and feel each of those. We feel each of those as we watch.
This was
that means a lot coming from you, and like you said, we couldn't Disneyfy it because that would be a discredit to the integrity of the story. Because this is a very real thing. I mean, we also want to really raise awareness with this film, and to sort of let people off the hook with the so-called happy ending.
Don't give it away. Don't give anything away.
We didn't feel it would resonate the same.
I said don't give anything away because
we're not going to give anything away.
Because people can get tickets to go see the movie tonight at 9:30 at Dances with Films at Mann's Chinese Complex.
Yes,
please come out and join us.
It's
gonna be a fantastic time. Absolutely.
But what was this process? Because the two of you have worked together for years. You've been friends for years. What was the process like in bringing this story of Chance, which started out being called A Dog's Dream, in bringing this to life and getting it to this point of now for the public to see and being in a film festival?
Debbie, the biggest thing was a lot of rewrites. That was the biggest thing. And to piggyback, the original name was Doggy Dog. So that was the first name. So it's had quite a few names.
Phil,
I
got to know, did Phil come up with that? Did you come up with that one? The first title?
Kenny came up with Doggy Dog. I came up with the second one, and then Kenny came up with the last one, which was Chance. That's the one that he came up with. That's the last one he came up with.
Well, I'm glad you got rid of the first one.
Yeah, it was a little too gritty. It was a little bit, and that was kind of that was sort of the genesis of the film, because it started with a real encounter with the dog that Phil and I had while visiting a friend. He took us to another friend's house, and that guy had a pit bull there that was just the most sweet, the most charming dog ever, and played with the dog for like half hour, however long we were there. And we were leaving, we complimented him on what a great dog he was, and he said, yeah, he's got his first fight tomorrow to the death. And that just really, really kind of shook us. And unfortunately, we didn't do anything to prevent that. We felt that, we felt sort of obligated to tell that dog's story, or to tell the story of so many dogs that have to experience that same thing. So that started. And then when I started writing, when I worked the first draft, I just couldn't imagine doing this as, live action with real dogs. And that's when the idea for animation came up. But we initially had planned to do it in 2D. Mm-hmm. And we had actually hooked up with an animator. And especially with something like this, you have to find the right animator that has the right vision, the right direction, and the right heart, has the same heart in the right place. And that first animator didn't work out. So then we came across Kenny Roy and Acronix Studios. And he totally got it. He was the first one to introduce the whole concept of 3D for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he totally got it, and he was passionate about it, and that's what we wanted. We wanted someone who could tell the story the way we wanted to display it. And I have to piggyback off what Kenny said earlier. Kenny Roy was very passionate, and he knew what we wanted, and then he brought even more to the table. So mm-hmm. we were blessed to get him on board to help us out with this project.
Phil, I want to ask you, as a producer, did you have any idea of the challenges and hurdles you would have to overcome putting together an animated feature?
Debbie, I had no clue. This was totally different from anything that we've ever done. The entire process was totally different. So it was definitely a learning experience for both of us, but it was
a huge leap of faith.
Overwhelming at times. Normally we can shoot a movie in the course of a couple months, mm-hmm. but this project right here, just the animation alone took 2 years to do. So it was definitely a learning experience, but we've learned a lot from it. So when we do our next animated film, we'll be much more prepared.
So will you do another animated film? I hope so.
Oh, absolutely.
We definitely have another one we would like to do, and it's another cause-type animation film. So it has a huge cause behind it as well.
Mm-hmm. Do you like that idea? Because, you don't pigeonhole yourself into a genre or a particular theme. You diversify yourselves with the type of films you make. Are you finding that yourselves being attracted to social causes now, like dogfighting?
Definitely. I would say so. We do, especially the times we live in. This is such a time of social cause that's fueled by social media. So this is really a time to be so much more aware. And I think the audience now, maybe more so than ever, they're looking for more than just entertainment, because there's so much entertainment pushed at us all the time where that alone isn't enough substance. Mm-hmm. You want something of substance and something that you can believe in, or a cause to stand up for, or something that can grip you and you can make an emotional investment in. So we do this, and especially this experience of making Chance, we feel that's really kind of inspired us or reignited our because when we first started as filmmakers, we wanted to tell a cause. We wanted to make make films that moved people and had a cause. Mm-hmm. But then you get caught up in the commercialism of things. You find yourself drifting. But this film, thankfully, really brought us back to that initial independent and socially conscious spirit.
Mm-hmm. And here you are.
And as well as we're in the process of teaming up with different organizations like the Anti-Dog Fighting Campaign, the Bully Crew, and a lot of other pit bull organizations. We're in the process of teaming up with a lot of them as we speak right now. Some of them are on board, and more are coming on board every day. So it's something that we're very excited about.
Mm-hmm. If each of you had to pick one favorite aspect about the hero in your film, Chance, what would it be?
Mine would be just the dream aspect, that he's a dreamer. That would be the biggest thing. And yeah, I would say that he's a dreamer, because I kind of relate my life to that, being a dreamer and wanting everybody to live happy and love and all that good stuff. That's the kind of sappy kind of guy that I am.
And
yeah, I think I'd have to piggyback on Phil. I think the aspect that he's a dreamer. He believes in something better and he's going for it. Because I think that mirrors what Phil and I do. We have a dream and we have to believe in it and go for it. So that fuels us, and people like Chance inspire us. So I think that resonates with both of us.
Well, unfortunately, guys, I'm actually out of time for the whole show, and I have to say goodbye to you.
That's so much fun.
But I mean,
I'm ready to go.
Promise me you guys will come back on the show again.
Absolutely.
I promise you, Debbie.
Because I know you have.
It's an honor and a pleasure to be back.
I know you have so much stuff in the works, and I want my listeners to keep up with you guys so that they know what's coming down the pike from you. But
absolutely, it's James Young Entertainment.
In the meantime, everybody can go to Dances with Films tonight, the Mann's Chinese Complex at Hollywood and Highland, and you can see Chance at 9:30. There are still tickets available.
Yes. Please come out. We'd love to have you.
Oh, guys, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Debbie. We really appreciate you. Look forward to being back. Thank you for what you're doing.
Oh, and I will see you guys soon.
All right. Okay. Debbie, have a beautiful day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And that was screenwriter Kenny Young and producer Phil James talking about their little independent film, Chance, at Dances with Films, premiering tonight. That's all the time we have today. I will be back next week. Already got a full slate of guests for you next week. So, until then, I'm Debbie Elias. This is Behind the Lens.